Well, the damage is extensive in the Dallas-Fort Worth area right after violent storms moved through that part of the country. The National Weather Service has confirmed at least 2 separate tornadoes touched down. As ABC's Diana Alvear details, there were no deaths and only a handful of serious injuries reported.
Daybreak revealed the devastation. In hard-hit Lancaster, some homes were destroyed, while others were still standing.
Oh, wow! Power flashes! Oh, my goodness!
According to the National Weather Service, as many as a dozen tornadoes pummeled Texas on Tuesday in a violent weather system that stretched across Dallas and Fort Worth.
Please take shelter immediately because we have a tornado right now.
A news helicopter captured one twister's fury as it touched down.
Look, these huge trailers, these huge rigs, the back ends of tractor trailers that are literally being picked up and thrown hundreds of yards.
The tornadoes tore through neighborhoods, lifting roofs from homes and peeling walls from buildings. In total, more than 650 homes were damaged. And yet, there are stories of survival. Juan Alonso hid inside this storage space. And in the suburbs of Forney, Texas, a grandmother is being hailed as a hero. She saved her 3 grandchildren by seeking shelter in a bathtub, even holding onto her 19-month-old grandson as the twister tried to rip him from her arms.
There was a gush of wind come through, and it just, I just felt like that it was taking him, and I just grasped at him harder just to keep him there with me.
And in yet another story of survival, this tiny kitten and its 2 siblings were rescued from the rubble you see behind me nearly 24 hours after the tornado came through. Diana Alvear, ABC News, Forney, Texas.
By the way, coming up in just a few minutes, we will go live to Texas, and we will talk with ABC's Diana Alvear about the twisters which tore through the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. Joining me now is ABC's Diana Alvear, who is in Texas, where severe storms, including tornadoes, tore through the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Thank you for being with us, Diana. These storms certainly did a lot of damage.
Absolutely, Leon. And this morning, authorities told us there were 95 homes that were damaged, 22 of them destroyed. And you are looking at one of them right behind me. I mean, take a look at this. The homeowner's pickup was tossed like a toy truck into the front yard, completely destroyed. The home itself, so much of it lying in pieces all over the front lawn. You look at this kind of devastation and you think to yourself, there's no way that the person survived this. Well, she did. The homeowner told me that she and her 3-year-old son rode out that tornado in her bathtub covered with pillows and said it only lasted for a few seconds, but they were the longest few seconds of her life. Miraculously, both of them emerged without a scratch. She said she had a tough time yesterday when she realized just how bad the damage was, but she says today that she's just praying, thankful that she's alive.
Diana, to your knowledge, there were no deaths reported there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and only a handful of injuries from these heavy storms which swept through.
Absolutely, Leon. And a lot of people were wondering how that was possible, considering that the National Weather Service said as many as 15 tornadoes touched down in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. How did everyone survive? Well, authorities this morning credited their emergency alert system. They said that it's proof that everyone survived, that early alerts work. They truly do save lives. And in this case, you have to agree that must have been what happened.
But once again, before you get away from us there in Dallas-Fort Worth, you say it was about 15 tornadoes the National Weather Service says touched down there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
The early estimates were between 6 to 12, now as many as 15. They're just not sure right now. They have plenty of teams on the ground right now, not only assessing the damage done to the different structures in the area, but they're also trying to determine exactly how many tornadoes and how strong these tornadoes were. And the way that they're going to do that is they're going to take a look at the damage, and that can give them an idea of how fast those wind gusts were. But truly, I mean, extraordinary stories of survival.
Many thanks, Diana Alvear, handling that part of the story for us from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We appreciate your work, Diana. Be well there. Well, let's check in with Jason Nicholas right now. She was talking about how people survived in that. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, as she mentioned, early warning of when these tornadoes were starting to form, and they started south of the Dallas metro area and then moved through. But what we did notice yesterday is these tornadoes, every tornado is very dangerous, but a lot of these tornadoes were weaker. We're talking about EF0 EF0s, EF1s, maybe some EF2, possibly EF3. It goes 0 to 5. Normally here in Northern Ohio, we get 0s and 1s. When we're talking about 1s and maybe 2s, that's almost just a big-time wind gust, peels off the roofing, but doesn't collapse the walls of a house. So sometimes folks can, as long as they're inside and avoid debris, can survive. So we didn't see the big F4s or the F5s that we see in Alabama, that we saw in outside of Toledo here a couple years ago. So that may have helped, Leon.
Well, we are really glad to know that nobody was seriously hurt there so far in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but certainly the damage is extensive.
Certainly.
As you saw, the heavy winds blowing things all around in cars and trucks and trailer
Incredible
trailer
video.
trucks. Incredible video indeed. How are we looking right here in Northeast Ohio?